mess it up, it's fine too.
Yeah, if you mess it up, we don't
I
mind.
just forgot that
You're good.
last part.
Alright, so we're recording now, you can start whenever. I think Brett actually likes listening to a little bit of banter back and forth before
There is
recording.
definitely a little banter back and forth, and we're actually doing a physical recording on YouTube, so people will be able to see us if they want to see us that direction.
Yes.
And yeah, there you go.
Hey guys, my name is Aniel Fernandez and I am the Cuba Kid on Instagram, and this is the Tattoo Confidential podcast. Watcha!
Watcha!
That's one of my favorites. I know, right? The first time he did it, I think I laughed myself into oblivion. So yeah, back with Seth, and today we're recording, we're interviewing Aniel. Seth and I've been we changed up. This is a season 2024, episode 3,
Yeah.
The Cuba Kid. Cool things about Aniel is he was the first person that I ever had the opportunity to train, and his story is very amazing. So just kind of starting out, tell little people where you're from, how you got here, all that good stuff.
And actually, you want to switch spots so that camera can see you, so everybody can see your face? Because I'm
Yes,
sure
great.
everybody's tired of looking at me. So
That could be
let's
it.
swap.
Let's swap. Go ahead.
That's alright,
Perfection.
As luck would have it, I think our profiles and we got like a little bit of your beard.
Yeah, yeah.
A little bit of the beard. The
But
beard's all you need.
that's the star right
I
there.
mean, it is.
It's a
It
deal.
is.
I don't know. As long as I don't have 5 points, I'm good. So what do you want, the long story or the short story?
However you feel about it.
It's your story.
It is your story. We just the biggest thing for this season was bringing in, I think, us, like the shop as a whole, because a big chunk of my story for the last 15 years has been all these different people that I've worked with. And when we got the interview started at Literary, it was like, we were trying to get as many as we could. Seth did most of them. We did a couple together. And then, some of the stuff that happened at the tail end of last year,
Yeah.
we were like, man, why don't we let people know who we are first?
Yes.
And so we're excited to, show the rest of the shop off. I think you have an amazing story, not just through tattooing, through your art itself. And I guess that's a big part of what today's about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm from Cuba.
I thought it was Massachusetts.
Well, some say it's, I'm from Jamaica.
Oh, I stabbed it.
No.
He's like,
way.
I thought he was from Jamaica. And we're like, eh.
I mean, Caribbean-ish.
Yeah.
But not
Don't
close.
exactly have the color, but
It worked out. We all laughed.
yeah. So I'm from Cuba, and I have an art degree in arts, painting, sculpture, and some other stuff, restoration, and
You're good.
all of that. But I ended up crossing the border here in 2014. As you guys know, I was supposed to go to Mexico to an art show, and then all my art got stolen at the airport in Mexico, in Mexico City. And I have friends here at the time, and then everything was kind of arranged, but not, it didn't supposed to be like that. But I guess God wanted that way, and it was the easiest way, the quickest way. So I just ended up crossing the border that same day.
Wow.
Which is
Right.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I heard the story, he's like, I was going to this art show and all of my art got stolen. I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That actually was the excuse, because I complained in the airport and they gave me a paper, and then I called my friend Axel, who was here in Cleveland, Tennessee at the time, and he was like, bro, if you can make it up here, we'll help you out for a few months. Him and his wife, super grateful for that. And then because of that paper, when I landed in El Paso, they were asking everybody, what were you doing there?
Oh yeah.
As soon as you got off the plane,
Yeah.
because that's like border zone,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that they have to be like really careful. And I was like, oh, I have friends who live here in El Paso, and I didn't supposed to be here. I supposed to be flying to this other place where the whole art show was. Was a place super far away from my where I was supposed to be. I was like, I have friends here who are gonna like have me on their house until I figure this out, because I'm supposed to be at
Yeah.
this place, but I don't have my art. And they were like, they look at the paper, they're like, cool, it's signed by the, you know, the airport, so it's true. They were like, yo, you good? And I
Wow.
just
Yeah,
slid right through. Yeah.
Axel, cool story about him. We did a documentary for the first year of Literary Ink. You can find it on Apple TV. Just look up Literary
Amazon
Ink.
Prime as
Wizards.
well.
Amazon Prime. Yeah, it's a little
Oh,
bit
cool.
everywhere, so you can find that. And the thing that happened for me and him to get together is Axel had seen me at the Chattanooga Film Fest. Danny and I were tattooing there, and this tall Cuban man comes up to me and he's like, I love your work. I said, oh, do you love tattoos? Do you want one? And he said, no. I said, okay, cool. Well, then like about a month, I mean, we talked back and forth a little bit on Instagram, but about a month and a half later, he's like, I've got this friend who wants to tattoo. And Danny and I decided we'd ask Morgan, you know, hey, do you want a tattoo?
Yeah.
And she's like, no. So we decided not to worry about it. And he ended up messaging me and he's like, will you talk to him? And I said, I will. And I even told him, I said, I'll let him know what to do. But I went and met him over coffee, and I think we were only there for about 15 or 20 minutes. And I was just
Yeah, not
listening.
even, I don't think it was even 20 minutes.
But like I knew, like I was sitting with this guy and I was listening to his story and I'd seen his artwork, and one of these paintings, it was funny because he said it was the first painting, I found this out the other day, it was the first painting he did here, and it was just so gorgeous. And you know, anything you do on paper,
Yeah.
you can do on skin once you learn how to use the tools.
Yep.
And so I was just sitting there in the car, or sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is the guy. And when I got back to the car, because Jessica picked me up, she goes, well, what do you think? And I was typing in the word apprentice because I didn't understand what the heck he said his name was. And I said, yeah. I said, he's the one. Now we just gotta make sure Danny thinks it's his idea. And so that was kind of how we got started. But you can tell your side of it
Yeah.
as to how we met anyway.
So after I crossed the border, a few years passed. No English, no money, no nothing. So learning, you know, as I went. But when we stumbled upon each other, Jennifer and I was still learning how to speak English. It was hard and funny at the same time because after she got used to my accent and you know the kind of the words and stuff, she was the only one at the shop that understood what I was saying. To the point where I'd say something to Danny or to somebody else, and they will ask her, "What did he say?" Because she was the only one.
Yeah, there was one moment where Danny came over and we used to have walls in the shop, and he was looking over and he asked him a question and he responded, and then Danny looked at me and I told him what he said, and I looked back at Aniel and I was like, we have spent so much time together.
Yeah.
But we kind of were. It was almost like instant best friends. I've never, you know, I never had the opportunity to teach somebody, and the best part about you is you showed no ego when you got here. And when we started teaching, I had no idea he was like a professor in Cuba. I was like, by the time I found out all of these things, and one thing, I don't know if he'll mention or not, so I will, the AT&T building downtown. He was one of the gentlemen who worked on that project.
Yeah.
And so, you know, realizing how amazing of an artist he was to also be so humble on this is how you do a word and never question that. That was something that, I mean, you know, made my heart so happy. There have been so many stories. Our first convention together that we went to, that just,
That was wild.
it was.
Yeah.
We both. I'm gonna tell. We cried on the way home. It was. We both won awards at that
I
convention.
didn't cry on top to.
Yes, he's so tough. He's very tough. It was a moment. It wasn't just a crying moment. It was a seeing a little bit of the future moment. But yeah, insane.
What else?
I know, right?
I want to say that AT&T building, when I was coming in, before I was even met you, I think it was, you know, in person anyway, that was the first piece of big art that I saw, and it kind of sold Susie and I on the city itself. That there was a lot of art,
That's great.
and it's just crazy, like serendipitous that it was your work. And I didn't know it at the time, obviously, because I hadn't even met Jennifer at that point, so
Well,
I've
it's
seen
kinda
photos
cool.
of him in a Superman cape on a scaffold painting that building.
yeah, it's impressive. If you're in Chattanooga, you should definitely check it out.
That was a huge opportunity that this artist Meg Seligman, she gave me. Well, there was an interview for that, and many more than 30 artists went to the interview
Wow.
here in Chattanooga. You know, all local artists, you know, like raised and born here. So
Yeah.
I was like, and at the time I did not speak any English, like zero. Like I speak a little bit when I met Jennifer, but at that time I was like zero. you know.
Nothing at all.
But I ended up saying to her, the only thing I want here is to work. I don't care if you send me, you know, with my own words, on a car to get gas for the you know, how do you call those things?
Scaffolding?
The scaffolding
Yeah.
equipment, I don't care. I just want to be in the project. And I ended up being one of the 6 artists left working on the whole thing for 6 months. It was wild.
And that's what I know of Aniel, is honestly, obviously his artwork's insane, but it's a work ethic.
Yes.
And like you said, he doesn't matter, like Literary Ink, you tell him anything, like, we need food, we need, you know, artist support, and like Aniel's there, always.
And Neil's been a 6-day a week, and for all of yous out there,
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Working 6 days a week. The biggest thing too is your family. You know,
Yeah.
getting them here. And I think kind of like to bridge a little bit of a gap. When Aniel got here, he said there was a few years before we met. You did a lot of restoration work and a lot of painting and stuff, and that's something that I don't think most folks know. And then when you started tattooing, it was just nonstop. And I've never met anybody who's picked up so quick. And I've trained a lot, and everybody's picked up quick. But literally, I think it was your 3rd month of tattooing. Jessica and I, that's my wife, are laying in bed, and she goes, and watercolor's my predominant thing, y'all. And she goes, what happens when he does a watercolor tattoo and it's better than yours? And I was like, well, he's doing one tomorrow. I said, so I can't wait to see it. And the best part about that, I've always said I want everybody that I've taught to be better. And I've sought out artists in that sense, or artists have found me, like, y'all have y'all's own natural talent. Like, this is the pointy end of the tattoo machine. This is how you work it. I don't ever think people need to look at it like, I'm better than you, or I'm never going to let my apprentice be better. I think that's something that's just wrong, because I've learned so much from teaching. There was one time when I was like, hey Aniel, here's this paint, here's my tattoo, this is what I'm doing, lay out my color. And I came back and I was looking at the color and I was like, I would have never picked this, what the hell?
I remember that day, yeah.
I know, right? And then I even said, I would have never picked these colors, but here we go. My tattoo is richer. And so, you know, in teaching or in learning, rather than being like, you know, you're this slave to learning something, learn from people who you're with, because I did. I learned a lot more about color theory, and just, you know, seeing you pick up and go has been amazing. How, you know, the story of you getting your wife here, huge, very, very huge. And a baby too, makes 3.
Then after that, a few more people.
Yeah, he's almost got his whole family here, y'all, and I think that's an amazing thing, because most folks, you know, family doesn't, I've not seen family mean as much to people as I have in this room.
Yeah.
How you are with your wife, how I'm with my wife, how, you know, everyone in here loves their partner or their kids. It's just amazing to see.
Yeah, I think the cool part of the team that we have is that everybody wants to always learn, and it's open to critique,
Yeah.
which is really important to tattooing, you know, and actually anything, on any field that you're at, if you're open to that, you're open to learning. If you're open to learning, there is no way that you cannot get better.
Yeah.
You know, so
I agree.
yeah, this team is amazing. And
Agree. The critique, let's talk about that a little bit. You set us up, we all ended up doing a critique a couple months ago, and I want to do more. The way you critique, I think, we're talking to Seth now. The way that you set that up for all of us that night was so well done, because, you know, I've been to some critiques before, and I've been with people and they've gotten their feelings hurt. And for me, I walk into a critique with my best, what I think is my best, and I'm like, tear me down.
Yep.
I want to get better. So what does that mean? You know, looking at those pieces and stuff.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's helped a lot. Crowder, guy I used to work with, Hollow Priest on Instagram, is the one who really helped me set up that format of critique, and it works super well. Obviously, I think I'm gonna try to Literary Ink with a room full of strangers.
Wow, that would
we're
be
really
awesome.
gonna try
I agree.
it.
We should all try to make that one.
It does help if you know each other, but I do think it can work with perfect strangers too, and really just pick your favorite piece and your least favorite piece, and you know, have a positive comment and a negative comment on everybody's work. And if you go through it that way, you know, you learn something positive from your least liked piece that you least like, and you might learn something that you could have done better on your favorite piece. And this is from, you know, people looking at your work. So it's
and there is always something
Always.
you're
Yeah.
gonna find, like.
Agree. Number one, you also have everybody write it down so nobody can like piggyback
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
next thing. And one thing you
Writing
said
it
to
down
me,
is
yeah,
huge.
one thing you said to me was like, just wait. When you see the one comment that everybody says, you're gonna know that's where you need to grow. And I was like, dang.
Yeah, it just like fine tunes it really quickly. And then for me anyway, you know, you can go home and then you can read through all those papers like, man, they're right, no line weights, or yeah, my saturation could have been better, or, you know, color theory. And I would say that's where Aniel is a fantastic artist, but
Jack of all trades, right?
yeah, jack of all trades for sure. And I like the his painting. I mean, he was obviously a fine artist first into tattooing, and it's cool to see how many of those skills translate directly into tattooing, especially from a color standpoint.
When you come to him and you just give him the reins with your idea, you get to see his actual talent.
Yes.
Because you are able to duplicate anything. You can do black and gray realism, you can do color realism. Like I've seen you do all the styles, but when somebody actually lets you go, there's this piece of beautiful realism and then abstract moments.
Yeah.
And those hardcore black line works, like it's really defining. What are some of the things in the industry, like being a tattoo artist over what you were doing, what's a joy in that, and then what's kind of like a, oh man, this is the hard part?
Well, enjoying it, it's like the creative part of it.
Yeah.
Like you get to do the same, like you create the same, and you can literally compose designs the same way,
Yeah.
you know. And the wall part, it's similar painting to tattooing, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So you apply the colors, but it's not the same because of the canvas.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn, you have to learn every skin type. You have to learn how not to, screw the
Overwork the skin.
overwork the skin and all that kinds of stuff. The speed that the machine has to run at different, times. And the tattoo time was a big one for me,
Yeah.
because I was just honing in one little spot, trying to make that perfect. And it's not about not getting it perfect, it's about to knowing when to stop and move on to a different spot.
Yeah. Yep.
So learning how to, condensate all of that without overworking, without leaving detail out, because also it's not about duplicating an image.
Yeah.
Because I would get headaches, like really bad headaches, and be like, oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to finish this ever, And then the client be like, I want to be done, I like to be done. And I'm like, no, wait,
I think that's something that's it's a testament to somebody who excelled very quickly in tattooing, where the artwork was definitely there. And I know a ton, like under 5-year tattooers. How long have you been tattooing now?
7.
7 years. So obviously you're hitting like kind of a renaissance period. But I feel like, you get real good, say maybe year 3, but you're really like fine tuning, getting every last detail in there, and then you start to see those pieces healed out 3, 4, 5 years, and you're thinking, man, the last hour and a half of that tattoo really was absorbed into the skin and was pointless, in some aspects of it. And I think that's where you're at, is now that limit of, if we render it any further, it might look great for that photo, but down the road, 10 years down the road, that hour and a half
Isn't even
just
gonna
beat up
matter.
the skin.
The hard part is always been the white
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
How much white do I put into a tattoo? Even like mixing color or adding more white that I'm supposed to be adding, because it's like you said, it may look good for a few months and then it will disappear.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, cut that a little bit more, out on mixing with other colors, like off whites, really light tones of purples, and it actually gives it it makes it look richer,
Yes.
with more color, if you want to say.
And like going back to the critiques, when I first got here, that was going to be something I was going to bring up to Aniel. I'm on his Instagram page, and like, man, this guy's crushing it. It's too much white.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to say anything. He just
Yeah.
noticed it, not corrected it, because that sounds wrong. And it's not like any of the pieces you put the white in are bad pieces. They're great pieces. It's just like you said, that over time, you started to see him healed out. Like, oh, I could spend more time maybe bumping up contrast on a dark value versus a light value. And it was cool to see the realization that Aniel had, I mean, that's how you know he's an artist.
Agree.
And that's, to me, that was kind of mind blowing.
A teacher in me also has to stop and say this right now, because I know we've had several apprentices that are listening, because they've reached out and said stuff. You don't really, you know, you kind of brought, you hit a note, skin tone, skin texture, colors in skin, mixing tattoo inks in my opinion is a little different than mixing painterly inks. And like you're even saying with the white on any type of client skin tone, it's going to work out better here than over here, and utilizing, because I started noticing that too. And sometimes when I'm doing a weird abstract line rather than doing it in a lighter color, I'm like, I'm just going to throw hot pink in there, and the hot pink, it has no reason of any other reason to be in there. But you don't really get a lot of these knowledges until you're 3, 4, 5 years in my opinion, because you haven't tattooed enough. And the other part is you haven't seen them healed. You now have the opportunity to see healed from the beginning to the middle. And as you start getting into that 7th and 8th year, you're going, wow, if I would have understood this time ago, which is why I like, you know, some of the things I teach, I'm like, you don't know what you're looking for now, so I'm going to try to tell you. And so that way you're kind of tuned into these bits, because I know that, like, you know, I'm not teaching anybody color theory. I'm not, you know, when I've taught, it's been like, you already know this. You put the pointy end in the skin, and this is how you get your result. So bringing those things up, I think, is awesome, because all of us are always trying to kind of learn and stick it. You know, there's still things that I struggle with when I'm like, why did my lines do that today? And the biggest thing I can always say is, slow down.
That's where I am right now too. Just slowing down to see what I'm doing, actually. You know.
And that's you know, that people, they probably just heard, you know, the slow down, and that you were slow in the beginning, and it's a different slow down. It's a slow down in the process. It's not a slow down overall just to, you know, make the tattoo longer or whatever.
It would be more like make sure everything is packed correctly.
Very intentional.
Don't do that. Just make sure that you're, you know, packing in so you don't have to go back to it. You'll save time, and you will save and you will save
pure saturation,
and you won't hurt the client as much. And by doing that, you're actually progressing. You're not slowing down. You know, you're just slowing down on the speed of your motion, but you're
speeding up the
speeding
time,
up the time in the process.
Sure.
That's why I used to take more time before to finish a piece overall, rather than now where I can, on 6 hours, I can do a lot, you know, just because I'm like, okay, I have to do once and that's it. Same with line, same with, you know, all that kind of stuff.
But that's a testament to how you worked before you were kind of unlocking some of those pieces. Is it might have taken you longer, but it was taking you longer to achieve perfection, and now you're just being able to kind of, I guess, hit cheats, if you want to say it that way, or just, you know, like,
I think the training and the stuff
out.
that you used to do too, like with you, because you taught, and I think that's a whole clicking thing on, well, wait a minute, why was I doing this? And the same, like I used to tell, I think there were conversations between me and Toonie where I was like, I had to slow down to show him this, and it made me go, why am I going so fast? And that tends to be, I think, the rate of all of us. Tattooing is hard if you want to be good. What is one of your goals that you're hoping to reach in tattooing?
Well, they have changed quite a bit, because before, you know, when I first started, I was like, I want to be the best, and there is no way that you can be the best.
Would you?
And I
would you
say,
want to be the best?
I want to be good.
Yes.
I want to be amazing.
Yes.
You know.
You are.
But there are many artists. They're amazing. You know.
Inspirational. Right?
Inspirational. So, and I wouldn't say they're the best, because there is nobody that's the best.
No.
You know.
I think
it's
trying to achieve being the best.
Just trying
is the
to
goal,
achieve that and enjoying the journey. It's where you get to a point where like, wow, I love this tattoo I did. And with that being said, it's like, it could have been better. You know.
I think every tattoo, like when I'm training, I'm like, the next, you know, make today's tattoo better than yesterday's tattoo. But I feel that way about myself still. Like, what can I do? Because I've had some struggles too. You're getting into somebody's skin, and you're kind of like, I feel like I can't lay a straight line to save my life. Well, what do you have to do? Turn it down, turn it up, stretch more. Like there's so many things constantly going on in your brain for the actual application of tattoo.
Have you hit the point yet where you have a skin texture where you pull the line and you do your saturation, and you just know as you're working it that you are never gonna get a good photo of that tattoo until it's healed.
Yes.
And that to me, that was like another one of those steps in my career, like, oh, I can see through this.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not gonna get my photo, and that's selfish to say, I know,
Yep.
but they're like my little babies. I don't get to see them every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of my work, and it's frustrating when you know that that tattoo is gonna be amazing and just beautiful
Once
it's healed out, and it's just, you know, whatever it may be, like inside the arm, it's squishier, kind of raises a little bit, and if you're pulling fat lines or sculpting fat lines, those lines are gonna look crazy
Yep.
in a photo.
Funny story. When we did our critique, the piece that I said, y'all, I just recently did this one. I'm not really proud of it, and we critiqued the hell out of it. It came back in and it was healed out fine.
Yep.
But it was on the inside of an arm, and it was squishy, and you do see those things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna bring up a story. Jarrell was here a couple weeks ago, and he said something, and this was such a moment for me, because in the very beginning when my wife and I first met, all she kept saying was, that line's not connected, that line's not connected, that line's not connected. And he's like, when I met this one person, she was giving me a critique, and she zoomed in and she goes, why is that line not connected? So I mean, now I'm like, hey, everybody does it, okay, cool. And he goes, well, this, you know, I mean, I guess, and she goes, that person can never connect that line. And so in that moment, I was
Yeah.
like, you know, realizing where you have grown from, because I can promise you now, if you look at my tattoos from like 5 years ago moving forward, the lines are connected. It's those little things.
Unless they're not supposed to be.
Yeah, and then I'm like, Jessica, it's an artistic abstract line, and she goes, no, it's not. I'm like, damn it!
Yeah, you cannot use that excuse.
You
for
really
everything.
No,
can't,
it's
especially after like 15 years. It's not an excuse.
No.
It was, I'm wearing glasses now.
Oh no.
Yeah. Talking about like shortcuts when it comes to tattooing process, what helped me just speed up a little bit was finding out that, like I said, it's not about copying, but finding out which texture you have to imitate or
Oh yeah.
you know, so it's not like I need to make this circle right here and then that right there. It's a tree. Trees have, you know, texture
Yeah.
generally. So
Yeah.
create that texture. They don't have to be exactly like it.
Yeah.
And
It
like
needs to look
that, yeah, on animals, on all that kinds of stuff. So whoever is going through that right now, just try that instead of, you know, just going in there and be like, okay, this has to be exactly like the picture, because you're gonna go crazy. I did go crazy. So just like going to that part, like, oh, it's just textures. There
Yeah.
are different textures that you can create, and that's gonna fix that problem.
Yeah. Amazing. So yeah, take that tidbit, whoever's
Yeah, who's
struggling
ever
with
listening,
that.
watching,
Yeah,
all the good stuff.
and yeah, I'm here now.
Are we gonna bring up Ink Master at all?
I don't know.
Ink
I wanna
Master,
go
he's ready
to
to go.
Ink
There we
Master.
go. Tune in.
I wanna go there, man.
I was gonna bring that up too. That's another goal, right? You
Yeah.
you want to be on Ink Master.
That's that's the current goal right now. It's just I want to win, but everybody that goes thinks that can win, you know, and that can make it. But it's more about that journey, just
Yes.
meeting these persons who have one way or the other excel, you know, on the industry, you know,
Yeah.
somehow, and meeting new people, you know, seeing what they do in person, because
Yeah.
like person like Nico would have, like I would like to see him or talk to him in person, and I could catch a flight right now and go to, you know, where he's at or something like that, but you know, it's not just like that, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to meet them all at once.
Yeah. It's an intentional meeting.
It's an intentional
versus
meeting. Yeah.
hey, can I jump out to your shop?
Like, you know, Ryan, like, and you've seen her work, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like, okay, I want to be that. I want to talk to her and be like, hey, you know, same with DJ or whoever
Yeah.
it's gonna be there. Like the artists that like me want to go and they may get, you know, to be there. I want
Yeah.
to talk to them. You know, I would love to meet the people from past seasons, you know, or
Yeah.
something like that. You know.
I think it's definitely a great thing to get out there and be around other artists for sure. Ink Master is an incredible way to do that. Ambitious, and I definitely think you can absolutely.
Yeah, I
achieve
think
that.
I think we're all team Aniel.
Yeah.
With that, the big part is jack of all trades, and I think that's something we talked about. And just to kind of, I feel like the show is something a long time ago that allowed people to see they could be tattooed, and they could have their arms tattooed, and they could have flowers on their tattoos, and not be considered, oh my gosh, they're gonna come in and rob me. Because like even when I first started, it was a whole level of everybody freaking out. Ink Master one time reached out to me and Danny. It was when they were talking about doing shop wars, and there was another shop in town that said this would be the shop we would want to do shop wars with. And both Danny and I made a decision not to do that because, like, I'm more of the, love all the time, happiness all the time. And I felt like even these last few seasons with Ryan and DJ and Nico, Ink Master has shifted. It's still a game in my brain because it is like, let's paint on the hood of a car, let's do this stuff that you initially would not do, but it's also putting artists in that realm of, well, we want you to try something new. You are artistic. How are you going to figure this out?
And the thing is that there is a time for that. You have to do certain things on certain timeline.
Yes.
So it puts your brain on a go mode, and it will unlock. I think it could unlock, things that we have in the brain that we can apply whenever we come back home, whether we win or not.
Yeah.
We'll find solutions to things on a different way.
I think that's been one of the biggest things for me. I spend hours on designs, like probably too many, and I apologize to my wife Susie because it's awful. Like I'm not as present as I should be, but my clients will always get the best. But I have to set a time on that. Otherwise, I'll spend an endless amount of time.
That's the other thing, and anybody can relate to this. I think any tattoo artist or artist in general, or architect or designer or whatever, like you start working on a design with no timeline. You could be working on it for a lifetime. Because you work on it, you leave it for a week, you come back and you look at it and you're like, I need to change this, and then somebody else says something to you and you're like, oh my god, you're right, and then you show it to somebody else, like critiques and stuff, and then they're gonna say something, and then you're gonna see something else, and you can change, like continuously, so you may not be able to finish it.
I think that's, we've talked about it here because I keep joking when we ever move or shifting the seats, because it's the same. You do get comfortable with your group. And we do have a lot of guest artists who come in here. We have Literary Week where we have an opportunity to meet people. You being thrown in that type of a situation, I think, is definitely, it's almost like you put all sorts of candy in a bag and you shake it up and you don't know what you're going to get out of it, which is great. You're able to see how you are going to perform. And like you said, you're going to be unlocking things that none of us will get to experience, especially if you get on that show. Because you're going to come back and be like, this is what happened, and this thing happened, and all of these things have made me look at how I'm going to tattoo differently, and you are going to learn stuff from the different people. It's one thing I love about being in here and us having guest artists. I've always considered and told people Mainline's a learning studio, because it is. We've got the ability to have all these guest artists come in. The first thing I say is, hey, we've got a lot of new tattooers. Do you care if they watch you? Do you care if they look at you? Because, everybody, like, Brittany's been tattooing 6 years, almost 7, Fuki's at 3, Morgan's at 4, you're at 7, you and I are the oldest, and still I feel like, some of the younger people in here, like when I saw him do his first and second year of work, I was like, well, that took me till year 5. At the same time though, I had 3 people who were apprenticing me to even get me started, and I felt like I was thrown in and literally been told this is the pointy end, you put it in the skin. And just taking extra time and being like, understanding, learning, and growing from that's huge.
With that being said, I think also it's depending on, like, life is not easy. Life is hard, period. I don't care who says otherwise. It is like that. But like she took 5 years to do something where I did in 2, but then I hit a huge bump where I was on autopilot for about 3-4 years, and I'm like going through things in life, because everybody does go through things in life, and then you're like, okay, I need to focus again and quit doing this because this is permanent, this is important to people, therefore it should be important to me, So and then I started like a 5 year, year 5, just trying to unlock new things. and then I hit another huge bump where a year instead, like right now I think I'm looking different things and different ways, slowing down again,
Yep.
watching more people. Like for example, me wanting to go to the Ink Master show, I'm like being more aware of what is a tradition, what are the rules for
Yeah.
tradition, what are the rules for Japanese, what are the rules for new tradition, what are the rules for realism.
Yeah.
There's not too much white in it, you know, the simplicity of a design, how important that is, you know, and all that kinds of stuff, watching through all the seasons and through all the people that have been there, through all the critiques and all that stuff, that's huge because that's like, okay, I need to work on this, you know,
Yeah.
therefore, even without meeting anybody, you will be getting better, you know,
Yep.
within a month, if you want to, within 3 months or whatever, you're making progress every week, you know. So for end of the story, for what some people take for, like, people hit different bump speeds at different
Yeah.
you know, tattoo age of their career or whatever. It's you know, it comes and
Sounds
goes.
like that.
Yeah.
Literally.
It does.
And for that being said, Ink Master, if you're listening, here's your next winner. Make sure he gets on the next season.
Yeah. Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, we're rooting for this guy.
It's hard. I want to pull strings all
I know,
over,
right?
but I
I know
feel
he's
like
applied.
can't. Yeah.
We're gonna
it's
tag
been
you in all the
applied.
things.
So-
Yeah. So I want to see it just for the sheer fact of I've watched you for so long. When you first got here, and just to kind of go a little bit more in depth about your story, Aniel had no one here except for his two friends. And when him and I met, Jessica and I, it was like you were our chosen third wheel. We were always together. Him and I traveled to conventions together. The first convention I took him to, I won my first place. Was yours first place too? Or second place. But we both won an award together. It was a very magical moment. You know, we've grown so much together. We have done so many things. You've been here for every literary ink. You literally worked 6 days. I watched him take half of his paycheck and send it back to Cuba. People don't do that. People are not built like you. I'm very grateful that you came into my life and that you are such a big part of what is here, because Mainline wouldn't be what it is without you. And I have so much love for you, boy.
And it comes right back at you.
I know.
You know?
On that note,
You got a little teary eyed
I
almost.
do.
I love it.
I do love my people.
I don't
And
cry, so that's
Bull,
fine.
I've seen it. You're right, he's a tough man, he doesn't cry. You are one of the most squishiest people I've ever met, but we'll go with that.
What does
yeah.
that mean though?
Squishy is,
Softy.
yeah, it's like what we
Okay.
call Katie. She's got that hard shell, but like then she's all like, Yeah, it's kind of like I think most of us to a certain degree, but anyway.
Yeah.
Today's been awesome.
Yeah. It's been great.
Now let's get to work.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get to work. Break.
Aniel, that was incredible.
Yo, guys.
I had no idea that your shit got stolen in Mexico.
It was amazing.
That's
It was
crazy.
weird. And it was a huge tube like this, full of like this big.
my god.
So I was like, what do I do now in the middle of the airport?
You run to Chattanooga and become a famous tattoo artist.
What was that paper that you got?
Huh?
What was that paper that you got?
Something that